Hello, welcome to this mini English lesson. We are going to be working Unit 8 of Level B2, which is the Summit 1 book. So let's dive in, shall we? Family trends. So we're going to describe family trends, discuss parenting issues, compare generations, etc. But we're going to do it shorter because this is a mini English lesson, okay? So we have here a picture. Do you feel familiarized? Is it familiar for you? It says, because this family isn't ready to hold democratic elections. That's why. Okay, clearly someone is upset. What do you think was speaking before the father spoke? What do you think was said? Is your family a democracy? How do decisions get made? Some of the questions I'm going to answer this. I think that here maybe they were asking permission for something and he said no and they didn't like it. And well, he finally said, this is not a democracy, right? I am the boss. Is your family a democracy? Well, I am 34 years old, so now with my parents, usually it is because I'm an adult. I'm independent. But even sometimes, in certain occasions, to avoid problems, maybe you just say yes and you don't want to deal with it. But, sometimes parents can help seeing their children as children, even if you're 40. Here we have another picture. It says, you have it easy. When I was your age, I had to walk all the way across the room to change the channel. Well, um, so it says, what didn't the father have when he was young that the son has now? Well, the remote, clearly. Do you think the father has a good point or is he being ridiculous? I mean, we do it, right? We always compare older or younger generations, and it's not necessarily better, right? Some things might be better or were better before, but some weren't necessarily. So I think it depends on the context. It's just there are so many things to think about. In your family, is there a generation gap between older and younger family members? Of course, like my parents and aunts and uncles are from, they were born between the 60s and 70s. I was born in the 90s, and I have cousins that were born in the 2010. So clearly there is one, and we all are different, and you can see that easily. So, um, we're going to be using here this, here it is. These phrases, they got back together, they split up. So got back together, regresar, volver, split up, separarse. They had a falling out, vieron pues como un momento difícil. They patched things up, pues se arreglaron las cosas. Things didn't work out, las cosas no funcionaron. My kids have been acting up, es como que no se han estado comportando bien. Don't talk back. Pues como que no me respondas, ¿no? No me rezongues. Your son is so well behaved, como que bien comportado. He'd better shape up, es como que mejor se comporte. That kid is such a troublemaker, un niño que busca muchos problemas. Some vocabulary you can use, and we have some examples here, like, did you hear that Sam and Margaret got back together? There you have it. Whoa, I didn't even know they split up. It shows you how out of touch I am. Well, they have this major falling out about 2 months ago and they separate, but it looks like they've patched things up. Good, they're a nice couple. I hope things work out for them. Me too. So how's your family? Not bad, but we've been having some trouble with our son. Really? What kind of trouble? Well, he's been acting up in school. Acting up is like misbehaving. Talking back to his teachers, like como respondiendo en una manera no amable. And not doing his homework. Eric, I can't believe it. He's always been so well behaved. Well, I told him he's grounded until he shapes up. Shape, obviamente sabemos que es forma, o puede ser formal, shapes up, o sea, ahora sí que hasta que te comportes o te acomodes. No movies, no games, no trips to the mall. Smart move. Eric is a good kid, but you don't want him to turn into a troublemaker, ¿no? Los chicos que siempre buscan problemas. So here you have some vocabulary related to behavior, especially with teens. I think I am a I am a teacher and I work with teens, so I'm very familiarized with all of this. They can be nice kids, but sometimes you have to be a bit strict in order to, not make or not create a kid that is going to be a troublemaker. Okay, and let's go to the grammar here. We are going to be using comparatives and what we call repeated comparatives and double comparatives. Okay, we're going to be making comparisons. It means that repeated or double because, as it says, you're going to tell them or say them twice. For example, let's underline this. The birth rate is getting lower and lower. Now, by the end of the 20th century, couples were waiting longer and longer to marry. It's true. More and more people are marrying later. Fewer and fewer children are leaving school. It's becoming more and more difficult. For example, this is a reality. I'm living in France. Fewer and fewer couples are having children now. So we have this problem in France that actually some schools are closing or the whole school or just a class because there are not enough kids. Actually, it's something that the principals tend to say, like, you should be thankful because we have kids, because it's an issue in France. Actually, the president of France, he said a few days ago, like, we need you to make kids, create kids because we don't have enough kids and some schools are getting empty. Can you believe that? So it's becoming more and more difficult to schools to maintain several classes. And we have them also here. This first example, it's what we call repeated comparatives, and we are describing actions or things that this is very important. Here's the difference with the rest of the comparatives. These actions, these situations are increasing or decreasing. O sea, se ve que van a ir mejorando o empeorando. And then we have the double comparatives, and these are more to describe cause and effect, okay, process. Let's check them. The more education women get, the later they marry. Yeah, that can be true sometimes. The less children studied, the more slowly they learned. Well, here in France, it's a reality, the more, what could I say? A real example. This is not related to France. This is related to a new generation, maybe. Like, this is what I think since I'm a teenager's teacher. The more technology they use, the less they want to use their brains sometimes. It's just too easy sometimes, okay? So as you can see, the first one is to talk about a situation that it's increasing, getting worse, or getting better, or decreasing, or whatever. Because you can say something positive as well, like more and more students are trying hard to become engineers, And the second ones don't go together. The first one, yes, lower and lower, longer and longer, more and more, fewer and fewer, more and more. The second ones are not repeated because you don't repeat the exact same words as in the first examples. These are called double comparatives because they describe cause and effect and you don't repeat them. They're separate. For example, the more free time I have, the lazier I feel sometimes. So it's like to compare a situation. And it says here to be careful because you don't use continuous verb forms in double comparatives. Like the longer couples wait to have children, the fewer children they have. Instead of saying, for example, the longer couples are waiting to have children, the fewer they're having. So you don't use continuous. We're not going to use ing in any of this sentence, okay? As you can see, we are speaking in the present tense. And when be is used in double comparatives, we're talking about double comparatives, everything I said, okay? When be is used in double comparatives, it is sometimes omitted. Like the better the quality of health care, the higher the life expectancy. So sometimes you can omit it. All these both are about double comparatives. Double, I repeat, is when they are separate and it's not repeating exactly the same words. And in the repeated, well, clearly you are repeating the same words. And here you have an exercise you can practice. For example, here I would say the older people are when they marry, the fewer children they have, higher the life expectancy, larger the elderly population is, um, the harder people work, the more successful they are. These are double comparatives because they are separate, as you can see. It's not repeated comparatives because it's not the same. We're not repeating them. The better the quality of healthcare is, the lowest the debt, right? You can try this, okay? Look, we have an example here of the repeated comparatives. Let's check again. It says, in the last few decades, family size has declined. Fewer and fewer people are having big families, so their standard of living is higher. The higher the standard of living is, here you have the double, not repeated, the double comparatives. The higher the standard of living is, the healthier the population. Well, that can be true. Here we have another example of repeated. People are getting married later and later. Here we have another one. It seems like more and more people are having fewer children. This could be a problem later because, and this is a problem here in France. So here you have some conversation to discuss parenting issues, and we're going to be using some of the vocabulary we just learned. And here you have vocabulary that talks about parents when they are too strict, too lenient, is like the opposite. Overprotective, rebellious, spoiled, disrespectful. Okay, so this is about comparing generations as well. So before finishing the lesson, I want you to know that, again, what I say in every small English lesson is that this is the grammar, this is the book, you have it, practice the exercises, you have practice exercises in your workbook, in your student book, you can check them with your teacher, you can ask him or her to check them. But I think that that's the 50%. The other 50% of this is to actually get immersed in the language, okay? To listen even more music in English, series, social media, TikTok, Reels, whatever you use every day in English, okay? So to finish, we're going to check this to compare generation. So expectation, explanation. Well, what they are doing here is transforming verbs into adjectives. For frustrate, frustration, permit, permission, develop, development, involve, involvement. This is something that you can memorize, yes, but it's also something that comes with the immersion in the language, okay? So let's check this. Okay, this is just a writing. Yeah, I think we're going to leave it up to here, but to sum up, this unit, it's about comparing generations, and you are going to use the repeated comparatives or the double comparatives to talk about how things were, how things are now, and to describe the situation in some places, how things are getting worse, getting better, increasing, decreasing, okay? And you can use some of the vocabulary related to generations or teenagers' behavior or parents' behavior. So vocabulary, yes, it's about memorizing, but practicing, practicing, practicing is the best you can do. So see you on our next mini English lesson. Thanks for watching. Bye.